When it comes to picking, choosing or using Aero helmets, one of the most common questions we hear from triathletes and time trialists is whether we should go visor or no visor. And it's a very good question. Is this more aero or is this more practical? Well, we have teamed up with Oakley using their rather fancy Aero 7 helmet to answer those very questions and more. Now, the purpose of a cycling helmet is to protect your head, and that is still the primary aim. But over time, some watt-saving, aero-savvy riders realised that with some clever shaping, a covered head could in fact be faster through the air than a bare one. So in 1985, we saw Scott Tinley more or less introduce these cleverly shaped aero helmets to the triathlon world when he donned one on his way to winning the Ironman World Championships. And it's around this time that kind of marked the beginning of cycling's aero arms race. But back then, these helmets were more or less just fairings that smoothed out the airflow over riders' heads and actually had very little in the way of consideration and protection for the riders' heads. The designs gradually evolved and changed. We had some slightly longer tails coming out of this. Visors were introduced. New rules were introduced which required more protection for the riders' heads, and with that came some slightly bulkier designs. But since then, manufacturers' understanding of aerodynamics and real-world rider positions has improved considerably. And this has brought about the reduction in tail size on many helmets to reduce the drag that could be generated by dropped or moving heads, something we tend to see a fair bit of during lengthy bike legs within a triathlon. But it is the visor that still seems to have people torn. Now personally, I've raced both with and without visors on my Aero helmets over the years. See, when I first stepped into the world of non-drafting, longer distance triathlons, and I got my first Aero helmet, I'll be honest, it was all a little alien to me. I was unfamiliar with Aero helmets. I wasn't that sure on them and their looks, particularly with a visor. So I opted to go non-visor, and very often I would wear sunglasses underneath them, as I'm doing right now. And at the time, I thought this was a rather practical option. I'm going to be running in these sunglasses anyway, so it's just a case of leaving my sunglasses on, taking my helmet off, whacking my run shoes on, and off I go. And I thought it's probably good for ventilation in the helmet too. And it seems that many people out there also have very similar feelings to this. And this is predominantly where that visor versus no visor debate comes from. Now, more latterly in my career and still today, I opt to use a visor. I've learned a heck of a lot more about aerodynamics, the ways in which we can gain free speed or simply reduce the amount of drag that we were previously making. And an integrated visor like this one on the Aero 7 is a perfect example of that. In fact, you'll find most of the pro field now using visors with their Aero helmets, even in hot conditions such as those in Kona. So what is it that makes these visors so great?
Well, firstly, we have the airflow across the helmet. By having an integrated visor, the aim is to smoothen out the airflow around the head that bit further. In addition to this, what I've found is that it also gives you a greater field of view without the frame of the sunglasses in the way. This has allowed me to tuck my head down further, allowing me to get into a more aerodynamic position with the body without compromising my view of the road ahead of me.
Well, the helmet designs have come on leaps and bounds over the years. Even a super aero helmet like this one has very good ventilation, making sure that your head doesn't boil with inside the helmet. And to prove my point, actually, David McNamee wore this very helmet to a third place finish at the Ironman World Championships in the brutal conditions of Kona last year. Okay, so the next big question is transitions. Obviously, having a visor on the helmet does make things a little bit more tricky when we're trying to get the helmet on and off our head as we go through. But it is still easily doable. For some people, it may take a couple of seconds longer as we're going through transition, but I would say that the aerodynamic benefits of having a visor on your helmet should outweigh those couple of seconds lost, particularly over a longer distance triathlon. Now, conveniently, on a lot of aero helmets these days, you're actually able to remove that visor quickly and easily, and on some helmets, actually able to turn that visor around, snap it onto the top of the helmet, which could be a good option when you're going through transition. On this Aero 7, we've actually got a magnetic attachment, so we can just easily pull that visor off, and then we can actually even start playing around with different visor options for different conditions. So here I have the Prism Road and Clear visor option. options. Now, unlike a lot of Aero helmets and their visors, these visors have certainly not been an afterthought. Now, we obviously all know Oakley for their sunglasses, so unsurprisingly, the same technology and expertise has gone into these visors, meaning the clarity is top notch. And this is so often overlooked with visors, when actually athletes need to have confidence in their vision. There's no distortion, their eyes aren't having to work harder than they should be or being strained. All their effort is going into racing. So what Oakley have done with their prism lens that I have here is that they've optimized it for the specific conditions of cycling out on the road. So obviously the lights and the colors that we see when we're out on the road cycling are very different from, say, that of golf or baseball. So they've analyzed the demands of each sport and their environment, and they've created this lens that transmits the right wavelengths for those specific conditions. Pretty clever stuff, eh? And that same technology, the prism lens, can be found also obviously within their sunglasses. But bringing this back to the visor versus no visor debate, obviously it is a case of personal preference. Do what you're happiest with, although I would recommend considering the aerodynamic benefits of going with a visor. That said, there have been very successful athletes over the years going both with and without visors. So don't worry if you'd actually like to start out going non-visor and getting used to that before opting to go with a visor. Now, if you have enjoyed today's video, please do hit that thumbs up button. And if you'd like to see more from GTN, just click on the globe and subscribe. And if you'd like to see our comfort versus aero video, you can see that by clicking just up here. And if you'd like to see our 7 aero hacks to go fast, you can see that by clicking just down there.